Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. Take a moment to let yourself settle completely. Adjust your pillow so it supports you just right. Pull your blanket up around your shoulders and notice how soft everything feels against your skin. Let your body sink deeper into the mattress. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. This time is entirely yours. Tonight, we're traveling together to a small mountain village where winter holds everything in gentle stillness, where snow falls like whispered secrets, and where music boxes sing memories back to life. We'll meet Sage, who has spent 30 years with patient hands bringing broken melodies back into the world, and we'll discover how the smallest songs can carry the largest hearts. But first, let's take 3 slow breaths together. Breathe in deeply through your nose, feeling cool air fill your lungs completely. And now release it slowly, letting it carry away anything you've been holding from today. Once more, breathe in and out, feeling your shoulders drop, your jaw soften, your whole body becoming heavier and more relaxed. And one last time, in and out. Beautiful. As we move through this story tonight, you may find yourself drifting away, slipping between waking and sleeping. That's exactly right. That's exactly what should happen. Let the words wash over you like gentle snowfall. If you wake and were somewhere new in the tale, just let yourself settle back and float along with us. This is a story about broken things made whole, about melodies that carry us home, about winter mornings and the warmth we create when we show up for each other day after day after day. So close your eyes gently now. Feel yourself sinking deeper into comfort, and let's begin our journey to Crystalline Hollow. The January snow fell softly over Crystalline Hollow, each flake drifting down through the pre-dawn darkness like a whispered secret, settling on rooftops and windowsills and the branches of pine trees that surrounded the village like protective arms. The air was cold and clean, carrying the scent of wood smoke and winter and the particular stillness that comes when the world is wrapped in fresh snow. The sky held that deep blue-black color that exists only in the hour before sunrise in winter, when stars still shine bright and clear, and the mountains stand as dark silhouettes against the slowly lightening eastern horizon. Sage Montgomery stood at the workshop window, hands wrapped around a ceramic mug of tea that had been warming their palms for 30 years. The tea, Earl Grey with a touch of honey, sent steam curling upward in delicate spirals, and Sage breathed in the bergamot scent, letting it mingle with the smell of old wood and metal polish and the faint vanilla scent of the beeswax they used to shine the music boxes. Through the window, Sage could see the village square beginning to emerge from darkness, the street lamps casting golden circles of light onto fresh snow, and beyond that, the shapes of familiar buildings, the general store, the tea shop, the small church with its white steeple. The workshop was warm despite the cold outside, the old radiators ticking and hissing gently as they worked to push heat through the pipes. Sage had lived in the apartment above this workshop since they were 33 years old, had spent every morning of the last 30 years standing at this same window with this same mug, watching the village wake up. The routine was a comfort, a rhythm that ordered the days and gave them shape and meaning. There was something deeply satisfying about knowing exactly how each morning would unfold, about moving through familiar patterns that had been worn smooth by repetition. The workshop itself was a place of quiet magic. 3 walls were lined floor to ceiling with shelves, and on those shelves sat hundreds of music boxes, some waiting to be repaired, some already mended and waiting to be claimed, some that belonged to Sage personally, collected over decades of work. Each box was different. Some were simple wooden cubes with hand-painted flowers. Others were elaborate carousel horses that spun when the music played. There were boxes shaped like grand pianos, like treasure chests, like tiny cottages with doors that opened to reveal dancing figures inside. Some were very old, their mechanisms delicate and worn, requiring patient hours of work to bring back to life. Others were newer, but had been broken by accident or time, their springs unwound, their cylinders silent. In the center of the workshop stood Sage's work table, a massive oak piece that had belonged to the previous music box repairer, Mr. Chen, who had taught Sage everything they knew before retiring to live with his daughter in a warmer climate. The table's surface was scarred and stained from decades of use, but it was solid and steady, and Sage had spent so many hours bent over it that the table felt like an extension of their own body. On the table sat the tools of the trade, tiny screwdrivers and tweezers, magnifying glasses and polishing cloths, small jars of springs and gears and pins, bottles of oil that smelled faintly of roses. But the most important object in the workshop, the one that Sage treasured above all others, sat on a small shelf at eye level, right beside the work table where Sage could see it always. It was a music box shaped like a snow globe, with a tiny village scene inside, a church, a few houses, pine trees dusted with artificial snow. When you wound it up, the village would slowly rotate while the mechanism played Silent Night. The box had belonged to Sage's grandmother, had been given to Sage on their 16th birthday, and it was the reason Sage became a music box repairer in the first place. Something about the way music could be held inside an object, could be preserved and carried and shared, had captured Sage's heart completely. The first light of dawn was beginning to touch the eastern sky now, turning it from black to deep purple to a soft gray blue. Sage finished the tea and set the mug in the small sink in the corner of the workshop, then moved to the work table and sat down on the tall wooden stool that had been worn smooth by years of use. The day's work was already laid out, 3 music boxes that needed attention, each one tagged with the name of its owner and a description of the problem. The first was a small wooden box that belonged to Clara Winters, who owned the tea shop across the square. It was her mother's, and it played Fur Elise, or at least it used to. Now it made a grinding sound and stopped after only a few notes. Sage picked it up carefully, feeling the weight of it, running gentle fingers over the wood grain. The box smelled faintly of tea and vanilla, as if it had absorbed the scents of Clara's shop over the years it had sat on her counter. Sage opened the box and examined the mechanism inside. The cylinder, the metal barrel studded with tiny pins that plucked the comb to create the melody, had come loose from its mounting. It was a simple fix, really, just a matter of tightening the screws and making sure everything was aligned properly. But Sage never rushed through repairs, never treated any box as simple or quick. Each one was precious to someone. Each one carried memories and meaning that couldn't be measured or quantified. The work deserved care and attention, deserved to be done right. The workshop was completely silent except for the ticking of the radiators and the soft scrape of tools against metal as Sage worked. This silence was one of the things Sage loved most about the early morning hours, the sense of being alone with the work, of existing in a space where time moved differently, where there was no rush or pressure, just the slow, careful act of mending broken things. By the time full daylight had arrived, spreading pale winter sunshine across the snow-covered village, Sage had repaired Clara's music box and was testing it, winding the key slowly and listening as Fur Elise played through perfectly, each note clear and true.
The sound filled the workshop with gentle melody, and Sage felt the familiar satisfaction that came from bringing music back into the world, from taking something broken and making it whole again. At 8 o'clock, Sage stood and stretched, feeling the pleasant ache in shoulders and back that came from bending over detailed work. It was time to open the shop. Sage moved through the familiar routine, turning on the lights, unlocking the front door, flipping the wooden sign from closed to open, adjusting the small display in the window where several music boxes sat on velvet cloth, their mechanism silent but their beauty speaking for itself. The shop portion of the building was separate from the workshop, a cozy room with soft lighting and comfortable chairs where customers could sit and talk about their repairs, where children could watch the music boxes spin and dance, where the village could gather and share stories. The walls here were painted a warm cream color, and the shelves displayed music boxes that were for sale, new ones that Sage ordered from craftsmen around the country, vintage ones that Sage had collected and restored, each one unique and special.
Immediately after opening, the door chimed its gentle bell-like sound, and Sage looked up to see Oliver Grant coming in, stamping snow from his boots. Oliver was 71, had been the village clockmaker for 50 years, and was one of Sage's dearest friends. They shared a love of mechanisms and precision, of the way small gears and springs could create beauty and function. "Good morning, Sage," Oliver said, his voice warm and familiar. He carried a small package wrapped in brown paper. "I've brought you something." "Good morning, Oliver," Sage replied, smiling. "Tea?" "Always." This was their ritual, had been for 20 years. Every Tuesday and Friday morning, Oliver would stop by the music box shop, and they would drink tea together and talk about their work, about the village, about nothing and everything. Sage moved to the small electric kettle in the corner and prepared 2 cups while Oliver settled into one of the comfortable chairs. "I found this at an estate sale last week," Oliver said, unwrapping the package to reveal a music box shaped like a grand piano, black lacquered wood with gold trim. "The mechanism is completely seized up, probably hasn't played in decades. I thought you might enjoy the challenge." Sage took the box carefully, turning it over in their hands, feeling the weight and balance of it. The craftsmanship was exquisite. The tiny piano keys were actually movable, and there were minute music stands painted with golden notes. "It's beautiful," Sage said quietly. "I'd be honored to work on it." They sat together drinking tea, the morning light growing stronger outside the windows, the village coming to life around them. Through the window, Sage could see people beginning to move through the square, Martin Cross opening his general store, Wren Davies sweeping snow from the steps of the bookshop, children in bright winter coats walking toward the small school at the edge of the village. "How's your granddaughter?" Oliver asked. Oliver's granddaughter, Emma, was 8 years old and visited from the city every few months. She loved the music boxes, would sit for hours listening to their different melodies. "She's well," Oliver said, his eyes lighting up the way they always did when he talked about Emma. "She's learning piano now, actually. Her mother sent me a video of her playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Not perfectly, mind you, but with such enthusiasm." "Music is good for children," Sage said, thinking of all the families who brought their children to the shop, who wanted them to understand that beauty could be held in small objects, that patience and care could create something lasting. After Oliver left, the morning continued its gentle rhythm. Clara Winters stopped by to pick up her music box, and her face lit up with joy when Sage demonstrated that it was working again.
She insisted on paying extra, even though Sage's prices were already fair, saying the box was priceless to her and the repair was worth far more than money. "My mother used to wind this every night before bed," Clara said, holding the box carefully against her chest. "When I hear it play, I can almost feel her in the room with me." This was the real work, Sage thought after Clara left. Not the mechanical repair, though that was important, but the preservation of memory and connection, the way a melody could carry someone back to a moment of love or comfort or belonging. Music boxes were vessels for more than just songs. They held pieces of people's hearts. At noon, Sage locked the shop for lunch and climbed the stairs to the small apartment above. The apartment was cozy and warm, filled with books and soft furniture and several music boxes that Sage kept for personal enjoyment. Sage made a simple lunch, soup from a pot that had been simmering on the stove all morning, bread from the bakery at the edge of the village, a cup of chamomile tea. The apartment window looked out over the village square, and Sage sat at the small table eating slowly, watching the life of Crystalline Hollow unfold below. There was something deeply comforting about this view, about knowing the rhythms of the place so thoroughly that you could predict who would appear where and when. There was Juniper Wells, the postal carrier, making her afternoon rounds with her distinctive red bag over her shoulder. There was Thomas and Iris Chen, the elderly couple who owned the small restaurant, walking together toward the market, their hands linked despite the cold. After lunch, Sage returned to the workshop to continue the day's repairs. The second music box was more challenging. It belonged to a young mother named Violet Brooks, and it was a carousel horse that had belonged to her grandmother. The horse's mechanism had broken completely. The spring snapped, the pins on the cylinder bent. It would take several hours of careful work to restore it, but Sage had the time and the patience and the skill. This was what they did, what they had trained for, what gave their life meaning and purpose. The afternoon passed in focused concentration, the world outside the workshop fading away as Sage bent over the tiny mechanism, replacing springs, straightening pins, testing and adjusting until everything moved smoothly again. When the carousel horse finally played its melody, a waltz that Sage didn't recognize but that sounded warm and nostalgic, Sage felt a rush of satisfaction and joy. At 5 o'clock, Sage closed the shop for the day, turning off the lights, locking the door, climbing the stairs to the apartment. The evening routine was as familiar as the morning one, preparing dinner, eating slowly while reading, washing the dishes and tidying the small space. At 7 o'clock, Sage made a cup of tea and sat in the comfortable armchair by the window, looking out at the village square, now lit by street lamps, the snow still falling gently, creating a scene that looked like it belonged inside a snow globe. This was Sage's life, had been for 30 years. Simple, quiet, deeply satisfying. A life built around careful work and gentle routine, around showing up day after day to mend broken things and preserve beautiful memories. A life that might seem small to some people, but that felt exactly right to Sage, full of meaning and connection and the particular peace that comes from knowing your place in the world.
Before bed, Sage wound up the grandmother's music box, the one shaped like a snow globe with the tiny village inside. Silent Night played softly in the quiet apartment, and Sage watched the little village rotate slowly, the artificial snow swirling inside the glass, and felt a deep sense of gratitude for this life, this work, this home.
Tomorrow would come, and with it the same gentle routine, the tea in the morning, the work at the table, the customers who trusted Sage with their precious memories. The snow would continue to fall, the village would continue its rhythms, and Sage would be here, patient hands ready to mend whatever needed mending, to bring music back into the world, one small box at a time. The melody wound down slowly, the last notes hanging in the air like crystals, and then there was only silence and the soft sound of snow against the windows. Sage set the music box back on its shelf and moved toward the bedroom, feeling the pleasant tiredness that comes from a day of meaningful work. Sleep came easily, as it always did, and Sage drifted off with the melody of Silent Night still echoing softly in their mind, a lullaby that carried them gently into dreams of snow and starlight and the sweet, clear notes of music boxes singing.
The morning of January 15th arrived with a peculiar brightness, the sun reflecting off fresh snow in a way that made everything sparkle and shine, as if the world had been dusted with diamond powder. Sage stood at the workshop window with the familiar ceramic mug warming their hands, watching the light shift and change as the sun climbed higher in the winter sky. The air outside looked impossibly cold and clean, the kind of cold that made your lungs ache when you breathed deeply. But inside the workshop, the radiators ticked their steady rhythm and warmth surrounded everything like a soft blanket. The morning routine unfolded in its familiar pattern, the tea, the work table, the careful examination of the day's repairs. Sage was working on a music box shaped like a carousel when the shop bell chimed at 9:30, earlier than usual for customers. Sage looked up to see someone standing in the doorway, someone Sage didn't recognize, which was unusual in a village of only 320 people where everyone knew everyone else. The person was perhaps in their mid-30s, bundled in a dark blue winter coat dusted with snow, their cheeks pink from the cold, their eyes bright with nervousness and something that looked like hope. They carried a worn leather satchel over one shoulder and held a small object wrapped in cloth against their chest, protective and careful. "Good morning," Sage said warmly, setting down the carousel and standing. "Welcome to Crystalline Hollow. I'm Sage Montgomery." The person stepped inside and the door closed behind them with a soft sound. "Good morning. I'm River Walsh. I just moved into the cottage at the edge of the village, the one behind the old mill. I arrived late last night." Sage felt a gentle curiosity bloom. New people were rare in Crystalline Hollow, though not unwelcome. The village had a way of gathering those who needed quiet and peace, who were looking for a slower rhythm of life. "Welcome to our village," Sage said. "I hope you'll be happy here. What brings you to the shop this morning?" River's hands tightened slightly on the cloth-wrapped object. I heard that you repair music boxes. Is that right?" "It is," Sage confirmed gently. "I've been repairing them for 30 years. Would you like to show me what you have?" River moved closer to the work table and carefully unwrapped the cloth to reveal a music box that made Sage's breath catch slightly. It was extraordinary, shaped like a small theater with velvet curtains that could be drawn back, and inside was a tiny stage where a single ballerina figure stood frozen mid-pirouette. The box itself was made of rosewood, intricately carved with vines and flowers, and even though it was clearly old and damaged, its beauty was unmistakable. "This is remarkable," Sage said quietly, not touching it yet but leaning close to examine the details. "Where did you get it?" "It belonged to my grandmother," River said, and their voice carried the weight of emotion carefully held in check.
She was a dancer, performed in theaters all over Europe before she came to this country. This box was made for her by someone she knew in Vienna back in the 1950s. It's the only thing I have left of her now. Sage looked up and saw tears gathering in River's eyes, not falling, but present. "I'm so sorry for your loss," Sage said gently. "She must have been someone very special." "She was," River whispered. "She raised me after my parents died. She taught me everything about beauty and art and the importance of preserving beautiful things. She always said that objects could hold memories, that taking care of them was a way of honoring the people who loved them." This was familiar territory for Sage, this intersection of grief and memory and the desire to hold on to something tangible, something that could be touched and held and played to bring a person back, at least in feeling, if not in fact. "What's wrong with the mechanism?" Sage asked, bringing the conversation back to practical matters, knowing that sometimes the work itself could be a comfort. "It doesn't play anymore," River said. "The ballerina used to spin while the music played. I think it was the Blue Danube, but the last time I tried to wind it, maybe 5 years ago, nothing happened, just a grinding sound, and then silence. I've been carrying it with me ever since, afraid to try again, afraid it was broken beyond repair." Sage picked up the music box carefully, feeling the weight of it, the smooth wood against their palms. "May I open it and look at the mechanism?" River nodded, watching intently as Sage turned the box over and found the small latches that opened the base. Inside, the mechanism was visible, and immediately Sage could see multiple problems. The spring was partially unwound and tangled. Several pins on the cylinder were bent or missing. The governor, the part that controlled the speed of the music, had come loose. Most concerning, there was visible rust on several components, suggesting that the box had been stored somewhere damp for a period. "I'm not going to lie to you," Sage said carefully, looking up to meet River's eyes. "This is going to be a challenging repair. There are multiple issues, and some of the parts may need to be fabricated from scratch because they're too damaged to save. But it's not impossible. If you're willing to be patient, I believe I can restore it." The relief on River's face was immediate and profound, tears finally spilling over and running down their cheeks. "Really? You really think you can fix it?" "I do," Sage said firmly. "It will take time, probably several weeks, maybe longer depending on what I find as I work, but I've repaired boxes in worse condition than this. The mechanism is well made, quality craftsmanship. The person who built this knew what they were doing. That gives us a good foundation to work from." River wiped at their tears with the back of their hand, smiling through them. "I can't tell you what this means to me. When I decided to move here, to start over somewhere quiet, I told myself I'd find someone to fix this box. It felt like a promise I needed to keep to my grandmother." "Then we'll keep it together," Sage said gently. "Why don't you sit down and I'll make us some tea and you can tell me more about your grandmother and the box. The more I know about its history, the better I can honor it in the repair." They sat in the comfortable chairs and Sage made tea while River talked about their grandmother, about watching her practice ballet even in her 80s, about the apartment in the city filled with photographs of theaters and dancers, about the stories she told of performing in Vienna and Paris and London. The music box, River explained, had sat on her bedside table, and she would wind it every night before sleep, the ballerina spinning while the Blue Danube played, a nightly ritual that connected her to her younger self, to the stages she had danced on, to the life she had lived before age and time had slowed her movements. She always said that music boxes were like memory boxes, River said, holding their teacup with both hands, letting the warmth seep into their fingers. That you could store a moment inside them and then open it up whenever you needed to remember who you were, where you came from. Sage nodded, understanding this completely. That's exactly right. Every box that comes through this shop carries someone's memories, someone's heart. It's why I take the work so seriously. It's not just about fixing mechanisms, it's about preserving connection, about making sure that the beautiful moments don't get lost. They talked for over an hour, and as they talked, Sage learned more about River, about their decision to leave the city where they had worked as a photographer, about the burnout and exhaustion that had driven them to seek a quieter life, about the cottage they had rented sight unseen simply because the listing mentioned that it had a view of mountains and a wood-burning stove. River had arrived in Crystalline Hollow with very little, some clothes, some books, photography equipment, and the music box. "I don't know anyone here yet," River admitted. "I don't know how the village works, where to buy groceries, who to call if something breaks. It's a bit overwhelming, to be honest." Sage smiled warmly. "That's understandable, but you've come to the right place for help. Crystalline Hollow is good at welcoming new people. We're small enough that everyone notices when someone new arrives, and we're kind enough that everyone wants to help." Before River left, Sage wrote down several names and phone numbers: Martin Cross at the general store, Clara Winters at the tea shop, Juniper Wells, the postal carrier who knew everyone and everything. Sage also mentioned that there was a community dinner every Wednesday evening at the church, informal and warm, a chance for everyone to gather and share a meal together. "Come this Wednesday," Sage said. "I'll introduce you to people. You'll see, within a week you'll know half the village, and within a month you'll feel like you've lived here for years." After River left, carefully wrapping the music box back in its cloth and leaving it with Sage for repair, Sage stood at the work table looking at the damaged mechanism and feeling a familiar sense of purpose settling over them. This was going to be intricate work, requiring patience and skill, and probably some creative problem-solving. But that was exactly the kind of challenge that Sage loved, the kind that required full attention and care, the kind that made time disappear while you worked. The rest of the day passed in focused concentration. Sage carefully disassembled the music box mechanism, laying out each piece on a soft cloth, photographing everything so there would be a record of how it all fit together. Each component was examined, gently cleaned with specialized tools, assessed for damage. The spring would need to be replaced entirely. It was too tangled and weakened to be saved. Several pins on the cylinder were missing, which meant Sage would need to fabricate new ones, a delicate process that required precision and steady hands. The governor could be cleaned and repaired, but it would take time. At lunchtime, Oliver stopped by as usual, and Sage showed him the music box, explaining the challenges. Oliver, with his clockmaker's eye, immediately understood the complexity of the work. "That's going to take you weeks," he said, examining the cylinder closely. "Look at how many pins are missing. You'll have to figure out the exact placement to get the melody right." "I know, but I have the time and I have the patience, and River needs this box to work. It's their connection to their grandmother, their link to the past." Oliver nodded approvingly. "You always did understand that this work is about more than just mechanics. That's why you're so good at it. You understand what these boxes mean to people." That afternoon, word began to spread through the village that someone new had arrived, had moved into the cottage behind the old mill. This was how Crystalline Hollow worked. News traveled through invisible networks of conversation, shared over tea and during chance meetings in the square, passed along with warmth and curiosity and the genuine interest that small communities have in their members. Clara Winter stopped by the music box shop at 3 o'clock, ostensibly to browse the boxes for sale, but really to ask about the newcomer. "I heard someone new moved in," she said, trying to sound casual. "Have you met them?" Sage smiled, recognizing the gentle nosiness that came from care rather than judgment. "I have. Their name is River Walsh, they're a photographer, and they're very nice. They'll be at the community dinner on Wednesday." "Oh, good," Clara said, visibly pleased. "I'll make sure to bring extra food. New people always need feeding." This pattern repeated itself throughout the afternoon. Martin Cross stopped by to ask if the new person would need an account at the general store. Wren Davies from the bookshop wondered if they liked to read and what genres they preferred. Even Father Michael from the small church appeared to ask if Sage thought River might be interested in joining the volunteer committee that organized community events. By the time Sage closed the shop at 5 o'clock, they had fielded at least a dozen inquiries about River, each one coming from a place of genuine care and desire to help. This was the nature of Crystalline Hollow. When someone new arrived, the whole village mobilized to make them feel welcome, to help them find their footing, to weave them into the fabric of community life. That evening, Sage sat in the apartment with a cup of tea and thought about River and their grief, their search for quiet, their need to repair something broken as a way of honoring someone lost. Sage understood this deeply. The work of repairing music boxes had always been about more than the technical skill. It was about restoration in the largest sense, about taking things that had been damaged by time or accident or neglect and bringing them back to wholeness, back to beauty, back to the ability to create joy.
The grandmother's music box sat on its shelf, and Sage wound it up, letting Silent Night play softly in the quiet apartment. The tiny village inside the snow globe rotated slowly, and Sage thought about how we all carry small worlds inside us, how memories and moments create landscapes that we return to again and again, seeking comfort or understanding, or simply the reassurance that we existed in those times, that we were loved and known. River's grandmother's music box would play The Blue Danube again. Sage would make sure of it. The ballerina would spin, the mechanism would sing, and River would have their connection restored, would be able to wind up the box and hear the melody that their grandmother heard every night, would feel close to her again in that particular way that only certain objects can provide. This was the work. This was what mattered. Not just the repair, but the restoration of connection, the preservation of love, the honoring of the people who had come before and the memories they left behind. Tomorrow, Sage would begin the real work of fabricating new pins for the cylinder, of replacing the spring, of bringing the mechanism back to life. It would be slow and painstaking, requiring hours of focused attention, but Sage had the time and the patience and the deep commitment to doing it right. And on Wednesday, River would come to the community dinner and the village would welcome them, and slowly, gently, River would begin to find their place here, would begin to understand that Crystalline Hollow was a place where people showed up for each other, where newcomers were gathered in and cared for, where everyone worked together to create warmth and connection and belonging. The music wound down, the last notes of Silent Night fading into silence,
and Sage set the snow globe back on its shelf. Outside, the January night was cold and clear, stars bright in the black sky, snow covering everything in peaceful white. Sage prepared for bed with the familiar routine, feeling satisfied with the day, grateful for the work, looking forward to the challenge ahead. Sleep came easily, and dreams were filled with spinning ballerinas and melodies that wound through time like golden thread, connecting past to present, memory to moment, loss to hope.
The morning of January 22nd arrived with a stillness that felt almost eerie, the air thick and heavy in a way that made Sage pause at the workshop window longer than usual. The sky was a uniform gray, pressing down on the village like a lowered ceiling, and the temperature had dropped sharply overnight. Sage could see their breath misting even inside the workshop, despite the radiators working steadily. This was the kind of morning that promised weather, the kind where the mountains seemed to hold their breath, waiting for something to happen. Sage had been working on River's music box for a week now, and the work was progressing slowly but well. The new spring had been installed, the governor cleaned and repaired, and Sage was now in the painstaking process of fabricating new pins for the cylinder, a task that required extreme precision and patience. Each pin had to be exactly the right length and placed in exactly the right position to pluck the correct tooth on the comb at the correct moment to create the melody. One pin in the wrong place could throw off the entire song. The shop had been busy in the past week. River had come to the community dinner on Wednesday, as Sage had suggested, and the village had welcomed them with characteristic warmth. Clara had brought extra food, as promised. Martin had offered a generous discount on groceries for the first month. Wren had created a welcome basket filled with books by local authors. By the end of the evening, River had looked overwhelmed but happy, surrounded by friendly faces and genuine offers of help. Since then, River had stopped by the music box shop almost daily, ostensibly to check on the progress of the repair, but really, Sage suspected, for the company and the conversation. They would sit in the comfortable chairs and talk while Sage worked, River sharing stories about their photography and their grandmother, Sage sharing stories about the village and the many music boxes that had passed through this workshop over 30 years. This morning, as Sage was settling into the day's work, carefully filing a new pin to the exact specifications needed, the shop bell chimed and River came in, their face flushed from the cold, eyes bright with excitement. "Sage, you have to see this," River said, pulling out their camera and showing Sage the screen. The image showed the village square at dawn, covered in frost so thick that every branch, every fence post, every surface looked like it had been dipped in sugar. The morning light caught the frost and made it sparkle, transforming the ordinary square into something magical and otherworldly. "That's beautiful," Sage said, genuinely moved by the image. "You have a real gift for capturing light." River beamed with pleasure. "I haven't felt this inspired in years. There's something about this village, the way the light moves, the way everything feels timeless and peaceful. I've taken more photographs in the past week than I did in the past 6 months in the city." They talked for a while about art and beauty and the way that quiet places could open up creative spaces that busy, loud places closed down. Sage understood this completely.
The slow, careful work of repairing music boxes required a kind of spaciousness, mental and emotional and temporal, that couldn't exist in environments of constant stimulation and rush. Around 10 o'clock, the first snowflakes began to fall. Not the gentle, peaceful snow that had been drifting down for weeks, but something heavier, more purposeful. Within an hour, the snow was falling thick and fast, and the wind had picked up, blowing the flakes sideways, creating drifts against buildings and in corners of the square. Oliver came in at 11, earlier than his usual Tuesday visit, his face serious. "Storm coming," he said without preamble. "Weather Service is calling for 18 to 24 inches and high winds. They're saying it might be the biggest storm we've had in 5 years." Sage looked out the window at the increasingly heavy snow. "Should we be worried?" "Not worried exactly, but prepared. I'm going around to everyone, making sure people know, making sure everyone has what they need. The community center is being opened as a warming station if anyone loses power." This was how Crystalline Hollow worked during storms. People took care of each other, made sure no one was left alone or unprepared, organized collective responses to challenges. Sage immediately began thinking through the list of people who might need extra help. There was Mrs. Eleanor Park, who was 87 and lived alone in a cottage on the hillside. There were the young families with small children who might need extra supplies. There was River, brand new to the village and probably not prepared for this kind of weather. "River," Sage said, turning to where they sat by the window, "do you have everything you need at your cottage? Food, firewood, candles in case the power goes out?" River's face went slightly pale. I'm not sure. I have some food, but I don't know about firewood. The cottage has a wood stove, but I've never used it. I don't even know how to start a fire." Oliver and Sage exchanged a glance. "Don't worry," Sage said calmly. "We'll make sure you're taken care of. Oliver, can you run to Martin's and get supplies for River? I'll go with them to the cottage and show them how to use the wood stove." Within 20 minutes, they had organized everything. Martin had put together a box of groceries and emergency supplies. Thomas Chen from the restaurant had contributed thermoses of soup and containers of prepared food. Ren had added a stack of books, insisting that storms were perfect reading weather. The box was so full that it took both Sage and River to carry it through the increasingly deep snow to River's cottage. The cottage was small but charming, tucked back among pine trees with a view of the mountains that must have been spectacular in clear weather. Inside, it was cold. River had been conserving the wood they had, not knowing how to properly run the stove, and the temperature had dropped uncomfortably low. Sage immediately set to work showing River how to build a fire, how to arrange the kindling, how to light it, how to add larger pieces of wood gradually, how to adjust the dampers to control the heat. The physical work of teaching and building the fire warmed them both, and soon the stove was radiating heat, the cottage beginning to feel cozy and safe. "Thank you," River said, their voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't helped me." "That's what we do here," Sage said simply. "We take care of each other. You're part of the village now, which means you're part of the network of care. Today we help you, tomorrow you'll help someone else." By the time Sage walked back to the workshop through snow that was now knee-deep in places, the storm was in full force. The wind howled around buildings, and visibility was reduced to just a few feet. Sage was grateful to step back into the warmth of the workshop, to shed the snow-covered coat and boots, to wrap hands around a cup of hot tea. The afternoon passed in a strange, suspended state. The storm raged outside, transforming the village into something wild and unfamiliar, but inside, the workshop was everything warm and safe and calm. Sage worked on the music box, the delicate work requiring such concentration that the storm faded into background noise, just wind and the tick of radiators and the tiny sounds of tools against metal. At 4 o'clock, the power went out. The workshop plunged into dimness, the only light coming through the snow-covered windows. Sage had been through this before and was prepared. There were candles in the drawer, matches ready, a battery-powered lantern for close work. Within minutes, the workshop was lit by warm candlelight, and Sage continued working, finding that the softer light was actually quite pleasant for this kind of detailed task. The phone rang, the landline, which still worked when the power was out, and Sage answered to find Clara organizing a check-in system. "I'm calling everyone to make sure they're okay. Do you need anything? Are you warm enough?" "I'm fine," Sage assured her. "The workshop stays warm even without power. How is everyone else?" Clara reported that most people were settled and safe. The community center had opened its warming station, and about a dozen people had gathered there, bringing food to share, turning the necessity into a social event. River was safe in their cottage. Oliver had checked on them and confirmed that the fire was still going strong and they had everything they needed. "This is what I love about this village," Clara said warmly, "the way we all come together when things get hard." After the call ended, Sage sat for a moment in the candlelit workshop, thinking about community and care and the invisible networks that connected people. In the city, a storm like this would mean isolation, people locked in their individual apartments, worried but alone. Here, it meant connection, people checking on each other, sharing resources, making sure everyone was safe and warm. That evening, instead of eating alone in the apartment, Sage bundled up and walked through the storm to the community center. The walk was challenging, the snow deep and the wind fierce, but the lights of the center glowed through the storm like a beacon, and when Sage pushed through the door, the warmth and noise and laughter were immediate and overwhelming in the best way. The space was full of people, children playing games in one corner, adults talking and laughing around tables laden with food, elderly folks settled in comfortable chairs by the fire. Someone had brought a guitar, and music filled the space, people singing along to old folk songs and familiar melodies. River was there, sitting with Clara and Wren, looking more relaxed than Sage had yet seen them. When they spotted Sage, their face lit up. "Sage, I'm so glad you came. Clara's been telling stories about past storms, about the time the snow was so deep that people had to dig tunnels between houses." Sage joined them, accepting a bowl of soup from Thomas Chen, feeling the warmth of the community settle around them like a blanket. This was what sustained small villages through long winters and difficult times, not just practical help, though that was important, but this gathering, this being together, this reminder that no one had to face hard things alone. The evening passed in warmth and laughter and the particular coziness that comes from being safe inside while a storm rages out. Children fell asleep on makeshift beds of coats and blankets. Adults talked quietly, sharing stories and memories and plans for the days after the storm. Someone made hot chocolate, and the sweet smell mixed with the wood smoke from the fire and the scent of all the different foods people had brought to share. At 10 o'clock, Father Michael stood and called for everyone's attention. "Before we settle in for the night," he said, "I want to say how grateful I am for this community, for the way we show up for each other, for the way we turn challenges into gatherings, for the way we make sure everyone is cared for. This is what makes Crystalline Hollow special, not our beautiful mountains or our charming village square, but this, the way we are together." There was a murmur of agreement, and Sage saw River wipe away tears, clearly moved by the sense of belonging, by the realization that they had found something precious and rare. People began to settle in for the night, some staying at the community center, some making the careful walk home through snow that was finally beginning to slow. Sage walked back to the workshop with Oliver and River, the three of them moving slowly through drifts, helping each other over difficult spots, arriving safely to find that the power had come back on while they were gone.
"Thank you," River said, before heading back to their cottage, which was just visible through the trees. "For everything. For helping me prepare, for showing me how to use the stove, for including me tonight. I feel like I found something I didn't even know I was looking for." "You found home," Sage said gently. "That's what Crystalline Hollow gives people, a place to belong." Alone in the apartment, Sage prepared for bed, feeling tired but deeply satisfied. The storm had been a test of sorts, and the village had passed it beautifully. Everyone safe, everyone cared for, everyone connected through the invisible threads of mutual responsibility and genuine care. Before sleep, Sage wound up the grandmother's music box, letting Silent Night play in the quiet apartment. Outside, the storm had stopped, and the world was silent under its deep blanket of snow. Inside, everything was warm and peaceful, and Sage felt a profound gratitude for this life, this village, this community that knew how to show up for each other again and again. The music wound down, the last notes fading into silence, and Sage drifted into sleep with a sense of contentment and peace, knowing that tomorrow would bring the work of digging out, of checking on neighbors, of continuing the slow restoration of River's music box, of living this life that felt so exactly right. The morning after the storm dawned impossibly bright, the sun reflecting off fresh snow in a way that made everything glitter and sparkle as if the entire village had been covered in crushed diamonds. Sage stood at the workshop window with the familiar mug of tea warming cold hands, looking out at a transformed landscape. Snow piled high against buildings, the square covered in smooth white, broken only by a few sets of footprints from early risers. The mountains in the distance sharp and clear against a sky so blue it almost hurt to look at. The beauty was breathtaking, but Sage knew that beneath that beauty was work that needed to be done. Paths to be cleared, neighbors to be checked on, the daily routines of the village to be restored. But first, as always, there was tea and the quiet contemplation of morning, the gentle transition from sleep to waking, from private solitude to public engagement. Sage had been working on River's music box for 2 weeks now, and the repair was entering its most delicate phase. All the structural work had been completed, new spring installed, governor repaired, pins fabricated and placed with painstaking precision on the cylinder.
Now came the final tuning, the careful adjustment that would ensure each note was clear and true, that the melody would play exactly as it should, that the blue Danube would sound the way River's grandmother had heard it every night for decades. This was Sage's favorite part of any repair, the moment when a broken thing became whole again, when silence transformed into song, when the careful work of weeks or months culminated in those first perfect notes. Sage never rushed this moment, never tested a box until absolutely certain that everything was exactly right. The first playing was sacred, a small miracle that deserved reverence and care. At 8 o'clock, before opening the shop, Sage decided it was time to test the music box. The workshop was quiet and warm, the morning light streaming through windows, creating perfect conditions for this important moment. Sage carried the box, now fully reassembled, the rosewood polished to a warm glow, the velvet curtains carefully cleaned and rehung, to the work table and sat down. For a long moment, Sage simply looked at the box, thinking about River's grandmother, about all the nights she had wound this mechanism and listened to its song, about the memories and moments it held. Then, carefully, Sage wound the key, feeling the spring tighten, feeling the potential energy building inside the mechanism. Sage released the key and held their breath. The music box began to play. The blue Danube flooded the workshop, each note clear and perfect, the melody exactly as it should be, the timing precise and beautiful. And as the music played, the tiny ballerina began to spin, her porcelain arms raised gracefully, her painted face serene, turning in perfect circles on her small stage, while the velvet curtains framed her like she was performing in a grand theater. Sage felt tears prick their eyes, felt the familiar rush of joy and satisfaction that came from bringing music back into the world, from restoring something precious, from honoring the memory of someone they had never met but felt they knew through the care that had been poured into this object. The melody played through completely, and when it wound down to silence, Sage sat very still, letting the moment settle, feeling grateful for this work, for the skill and patience required, for the privilege of being the person who brought this connection back to life. The shop opened at 9, and Sage had barely unlocked the door when River appeared, cheeks pink from the cold, eyes bright with anticipation. "I saw the lights on early. Were you working on the box?" Sage smiled, unable to contain the joy. "I was testing it, actually. Would you like to hear it play?" River's hands flew to her mouth, tears already gathering. "It's done? Really done?" "Really done," Sage confirmed gently. "Come, sit down and I'll show you." They sat together at the work table, and Sage placed the music box between them. "Your grandmother's music box," Sage said formally, wanting to mark the significance of the moment, "has been fully restored. The mechanism is working perfectly, the ballerina spins smoothly, and the melody is exactly as it should be. I'm honored to return it to you." Sage demonstrated how to wind it carefully, then released the mechanism. The blue Danube began to play, and the ballerina began to spin, and River completely broke down, sobbing with a mixture of grief and joy and relief, their whole body shaking with the force of emotion released. Sage sat quietly, letting River cry, understanding that this was necessary, that the music was opening something that had been closed, that the sound of the melody their grandmother had loved was allowing River to finally process the loss, to feel the grief fully, to say goodbye while also holding close. When River could finally speak, their voice was thick and broken. She wound this every night, every single night for as long as I can remember. It was the last thing I heard before I fell asleep when I stayed with her. And when she got too weak to wind it herself, I would do it for her, and we would listen together. And then she died, and the box broke, and I felt like I had lost her all over again, like the last piece of her was gone. "But now it's back," Sage said gently. "The music is back. The ballerina is spinning. Your grandmother's memory is preserved in this box, and you can wind it whenever you need to feel close to her, whenever you need to remember who she was and how much she loved you." River reached out and hugged Sage tightly, a gesture of gratitude that transcended words. And Sage hugged them back, feeling the deep satisfaction that came from this work, from being able to give someone back something precious they thought they had lost forever. They sat together for a long time, listening to the music box play through several cycles. River telling stories about their grandmother, about her grace and strength, about the way she had danced even in her 80s, about the love she had poured into raising River after their parents died, about the lessons she had taught about beauty and art and the importance of preserving beautiful things. "She would have loved you," River said finally. "She would have loved knowing that someone with your skill and care repaired her music box. She always said that craftspeople were artists, that the work of making and mending was as important as any performance." "She sounds like she was a wise woman," Sage said, "and you honor her memory by taking care of this box, by keeping her legacy alive." Over the next few days, as the village dug out from the storm and life returned to its normal rhythms, something shifted in River's presence in Crystalline Hollow. They had arrived tentative and uncertain, a newcomer looking for quiet and peace. But the storm and the community's response to it, combined with the restoration of the music box, seemed to have given River roots, a sense of belonging that transformed them from visitor to resident. River began photographing the village in earnest, capturing the daily life of Crystalline Hollow with an artist's eye. Oliver and his clock shop surrounded by ticking timepieces, Clara arranging teacups with precise care, the children playing in the snow-covered square, the old church with its white steeple against blue sky. River showed these photographs to Sage, and Sage was struck by how River had captured not just the physical beauty of the village, but its spirit, its warmth, its sense of connection. "I want to create a book," River said one afternoon, sitting in the workshop while Sage worked on a different repair, "of photographs and stories about Crystalline Hollow, about the people who live here and what makes this place special. Would you be willing to be interviewed, to talk about your work and why it matters?" Sage felt a flutter of nervousness. They had always preferred to stay in the background, to let the work speak for itself. But looking at River's hopeful face, at the passion and purpose that had replaced the grief and uncertainty, Sage nodded. "I'd be honored." The interview happened over several sessions, River asking thoughtful questions while Sage worked, their recorder running, capturing not just words, but the sounds of the workshop, the tick of the radiators, the delicate chime of music boxes, the scrape of tools against metal. Sage talked about learning the trade from Mr. Chen, about the 30 years of repairs, about the philosophy that guided the work, that every box mattered, that patience was more important than speed, that the real work was about preserving connection and memory, not just fixing mechanisms. Why music boxes specifically? Why not clocks like Oliver or something else? Sage thought about this. hands still working on the carousel horse they were repairing. Because music boxes hold moments. They preserve not just a melody, but a feeling, a memory, a connection to someone or something important. Every time someone winds a music box, they're traveling back to a specific time and place. They're connecting with someone they loved. They're remembering who they were and how much they loved you. River nodded, completely understanding. Like my grandmother's box. Every time I wind it now, I'm with her again. I'm 8 years old, falling asleep in her apartment, safe and loved. The music carries me back. Exactly, Sage said softly.
As February approached, Father Michael stopped by with a proposal. "We're planning a winter celebration," he said. "A gathering to mark the end of the hardest part of winter, to celebrate making it through the storms and darkness together. We're calling it the Festival of Light, and we want everyone to participate, bringing light in whatever form feels meaningful. Candles, lanterns, music, art. River has already agreed to display some of their photographs. Would you be willing to bring some of your music boxes to let people wind them up and hear them play?" Sage felt immediate enthusiasm for the idea. "I'd love to. Music is its own kind of light." "That's what I thought," Father Michael said, his eyes warm. "And I was hoping you might say a few words, talk about your work, about what it means to restore beautiful things." Sage agreed, though the idea of speaking in front of the whole village made them nervous. But this felt important, felt like an opportunity to share something about the value of patience and care, and the work of mending what was broken. The days leading up to the festival were busy with preparation. River worked on curating photographs and creating displays. Clara organized the food, a potluck where everyone would contribute. Oliver created special luminaries from old clock parts, brass and copper, catching candlelight in beautiful ways. The children made paper lanterns painted with stars and moons and suns. Sage selected a dozen of the most beautiful music boxes from the workshop, some personal favorites, some restored pieces waiting to be claimed, each one special and meaningful. Sage polished them carefully, wound them to make sure they were all working perfectly, and created small cards explaining each box's history and the melody it played. The evening of the festival arrived cold and clear, the village square transformed by hundreds of candles and lanterns, by the light spilling from windows, by the warmth of people gathering together. Tables were laden with food, and in the center of the square, on a platform built specially for the occasion, were displays of art and beauty. River's photographs, Oliver's luminaries, Sage's music boxes, and dozens of other contributions from villagers sharing their own forms of light. As the evening began, Father Michael welcomed everyone and explained the significance of the gathering. "We're here tonight to celebrate light in the darkness, to honor the ways we create warmth and beauty even in the coldest, darkest times. To recognize that showing up for each other, caring for each other, preserving and creating beautiful things, these are all forms of light." One by one, people stepped forward to share. Clara talked about how tea service was a ritual of care, a way of slowing down and being present with each other. Ren spoke about books as vessels of light, carrying stories and wisdom across time. Thomas Chen shared how cooking for others was an expression of love. When it was Sage's turn, they stood before the assembled village, feeling nervous but also deeply connected to these people who had been part of their life for so long. "I repair music boxes," Sage began, voice quiet but carrying in the still winter air. "I take broken mechanisms and bring them back to life,
restore melodies that have gone silent. But the real work isn't the mechanical repair. The real work is preserving connection, honoring memory, making sure that the beautiful moments don't get lost. Sage gestured to the music boxes on display. Each of these boxes holds someone's heart, a grandmother's lullaby, a first dance, a moment of joy or comfort or belonging. When I repair a box, I'm not just fixing springs and pins, I'm restoring someone's ability to connect with their past, to remember who they loved, to feel held by those memories. Sage paused, looking out at the familiar faces, Oliver and Clara and River, and all the others who made Crystalline Hollow home. And I think that's what we do for each other here in this village. We hold each other's memories and stories. We show up when things are broken and help mend them. We create beauty and warmth together. We are, all of us, preserving light for each other. There was a moment of profound silence, and then the village erupted in applause, warm and sustained, and Sage felt tears prick their eyes at the recognition, at the sense of being seen and valued. After the speeches, people moved through the displays, winding up music boxes and listening to their melodies, examining River's photographs, admiring Oliver's luminaries. Children ran through the square with their paper lanterns, laughing and playing. Food was shared, stories were told, music was made. River found Sage standing beside the display of music boxes, listening to several of them playing at once, their melodies interweaving in a complex harmony. "Thank you," River said quietly, "for fixing my grandmother's box, for welcoming me, for showing me what it means to be part of a place like this. I feel like I finally found where I'm supposed to be." Sage smiled, feeling the truth of River's words reflected in their own experience. That's what Crystalline Hollow does. It gives people a place to belong, a community to be part of. You've become woven into the fabric of this place, just like everyone else. The festival continued late into the night, candles burning down slowly, the cold kept at bay by the warmth of gathering and connection. When people finally began to leave, drifting toward their homes through the snow-covered square, there was a sense of satisfaction and peace, a feeling that something important had been celebrated and affirmed. Sage walked back to the workshop with Oliver and River, the three of them moving slowly, savoring the night, the friendship, the sense of community. At the door, they paused to look back at the square, still glowing with the last of the candles, beautiful and peaceful in the winter night. "This is a special place," River said softly. "I didn't know places like this still existed." They exist wherever people commit to showing up for each other, wherever people choose care over convenience, connection over isolation. Crystalline Hollow is special, but it's special because of choices we all make every day. Inside the apartment, Sage prepared for bed with the familiar routine, feeling deeply satisfied with the evening, with the community, with this life that continued to feel meaningful and right. The grandmother's music box sat on its shelf, and Sage wound it up one last time, letting Silent Night play softly in the quiet apartment. Tomorrow would bring new work, new repairs, new opportunities to practice the careful art of restoration. But tonight, Sage simply sat in the warm lamplight, listening to the gentle melody, feeling grateful for the work, the village, the connections that made life rich and full of meaning. The music wound down slowly, the last notes hanging in the air like snowflakes, and then there was only silence and peace. Sage moved toward the bedroom, ready for sleep, ready for rest, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. Outside, the winter night was cold and clear, stars bright in the black sky. The village of Crystalline Hollow settled and peaceful under its blanket of snow, a small community held together by care and connection and the commitment to showing up for each other day after day after day.
The morning of March 1st arrived with the first real promise of spring, the sun stronger than it had been in months, the air carrying a softness that winter air never held, a few brave birds calling from the pine trees as if testing whether it was safe to sing again. Sage stood at the workshop window with the familiar ceramic mug warming their hands, watching the light spread across the village square, touching the melting snow with gold, creating small streams of water that trickled down the streets like the earth was waking up and stretching after a long sleep. Winter was slowly releasing its grip on Crystalline Hollow, and Sage felt the seasonal shift echoed in their own body, a sense of renewal, of energy returning, of the cycle continuing its eternal rotation. There was something hopeful about spring, about the way life persisted and returned, and reminded everyone that darkness was never permanent, that warmth always came back eventually. River's grandmother's music box sat on the shelf in the shop now, fully repaired and returned, but River had asked if they could stop by regularly just to wind it up and listen to it in the workshop, saying that the space itself had become connected to the box's restoration, that hearing the Blue Danube play in the room where it had been brought back to life added an extra layer of meaning to the experience. Sage had agreed immediately, understanding that the work of restoration extended beyond the mechanical repair, that the relationship built during the process was part of what made the whole thing meaningful. River came by most mornings now, sometimes with coffee from Clara's tea shop, and they would sit together in the comfortable chairs and listen to the music box play while they talked about art and memory and the way objects could carry meaning across time. This morning, as Sage was preparing to open the shop, the door chimed and River came in carrying not just coffee, but a large portfolio case. Their face was bright with excitement, and they practically bounced on their toes as they waited for Sage to notice. "I finished it," River announced, unable to contain the news any longer. "The book about Crystalline Hollow, the photographs and interviews. I want to show you." They sat at the work table, coffee forgotten, while River opened the portfolio and carefully laid out the pages. The book was beautiful, each page a combination of River's stunning photographs and carefully transcribed stories from the villagers. There was Oliver in his clock shop talking about the importance of precision and patience. Clara in her tea shop discussing the ritual of tea service as an act of care. The children playing in the snow, their joy captured in perfect light. And there, in the center of the book, was a full spread dedicated to the music box workshop. River had photographed Sage's hands working on a tiny mechanism, the tools laid out on the worn wooden table, the shelves of music boxes creating a background of beauty and history. The accompanying text was the interview Sage had given, words about restoration and memory and the work of preserving connection. Genuinely moved by the beauty and care that had gone into creating it, Sage said, "This is extraordinary, River. You've captured something essential about this place, about what makes it special. I couldn't have done it without everyone's cooperation, without their willingness to share their stories, to let me into their lives and work. This book is a love letter to Crystalline Hollow, to the community that welcomed me and gave me a home when I needed one most." They looked through the entire book together, Sage noting how River had woven together the individual stories into a larger narrative about community and care, about the way small daily acts of showing up created something durable and beautiful, about belonging and connection and the importance of preserving what matters. "What will you do with it?" asked Sage. "I'm going to show it at the spring gathering," said River. "Father Michael is organizing a celebration for the equinox, a marker of making it through winter together. I thought the book could be part of that, a way of honoring everyone and everything that makes this village what it is."
Over the next 3 weeks, as winter slowly gave way to spring, preparations for the equinox celebration occupied the village's attention. The gathering would be held in the church and the community center, with everyone contributing food and art and music. It would be a marker of seasonal transition, but also a celebration of the community itself, of the bonds that had been strengthened through the winter months. Sage continued the daily work of repairing music boxes, but now each repair felt connected to the larger story River had captured in the book. A carousel horse restored for a young mother became part of the narrative about how care gets passed down through generations. A simple wooden box repaired for an elderly man became a meditation on memory and the objects that carry us through loss. Each box was individual and unique, but each was also part of the larger web of connection that made Crystalline Hollow what it was. The morning of the spring equinox arrived with spectacular sunrise, the sky streaked with pink and orange and gold, the last patches of snow glowing in the early light. Sage stood at the workshop window longer than usual, drinking in the beauty, feeling the significance of the day settle over everything like a blessing. Today marked equal light and darkness, balance, the turning point towards longer days and warmer weather. It felt like a promise, like nature's way of saying that persistence was rewarded, that showing up day after day led to renewal and growth. The celebration began at noon with the church and community center decorated with spring flowers that had been forced in greenhouses and branches of pussy willow that had been collected from the woods. Tables were laden with food, early greens from cold frames, preserved vegetables from root cellars, fresh bread and pastries, the first maple syrup of the season. The whole village gathered, everyone dressed in their best clothes, faces bright with anticipation.
Father Michael opened the celebration with words about cycles and renewal, about the way communities, like seasons, move through darkness and light, difficulty and ease, always returning to warmth and growth if the care and commitment remain steady. He thanked everyone for showing up through the winter, for checking on neighbors during storms, for sharing resources and warmth and connection. Then River was invited to present the book. They stood before the assembled village with the portfolio open, hands trembling slightly with nervousness and excitement. "When I came to Crystalline Hollow last January," River began, "I was lost. I had left behind a life that wasn't working, and I didn't know what I was looking for or whether I would find it. But you all welcomed me. You helped me during the storm. You invited me to your gatherings. You shared your stories and let me become part of your community." River's voice grew stronger as they continued. "This book is my attempt to capture what makes this place special. It's not the beautiful mountains or the charming buildings, though those are lovely. It's you. It's the way you show up for each other. It's the way you preserve and create beauty. It's the way you've built a community where everyone belongs, where everyone matters, where care and connection are the foundation of everything." River turned the pages, showing the photographs and reading selected excerpts from the interviews. People saw themselves reflected in the images and words, saw their work and lives honored and celebrated. There were tears and laughter and moments of profound recognition as the village saw itself through River's artist's eye, saw the beauty and meaning that might have become invisible through familiarity. When River reached the spread about the music box workshop, Sage felt a wave of emotion. River had captured not just the physical workspace, but the philosophy behind the work, the care and patience and commitment to honoring what mattered. The photograph showed Sage's hands, capable and gentle, weathered by years of detailed work, holding a tiny mechanism, and Sage recognized those hands as belonging to someone who had found their purpose, who had built a life around meaningful work.
Sage taught me something important, River said, looking directly at Sage with tears in their eyes. They taught me that broken things can be mended, that patient care can restore what seemed lost forever. When they repaired my grandmother's music box, they gave me back more than a working mechanism. They gave me back my connection to her, my ability to hold her memory close. That's what we do for each other here. We help mend what's broken. We restore what's been damaged. We bring music back into the world. The applause was thunderous, sustained, and Sage felt tears streaming down their own face, overwhelmed by the recognition and gratitude, by the sense of being seen and valued so completely. After the formal presentations, the celebration shifted into a more relaxed gathering. Food was shared, stories were told, music was played. Children ran through the spaces with the particular joy that comes from community gatherings where they know they're safe and welcomed. Adults talked in small groups, sharing updates and plans and the comfortable conversation of people who know each other well. Sage found themselves surrounded by people wanting to talk, to thank them, to share their own stories about music boxes that held meaning in their lives. Mrs. Eleanor Park, 87 years old, told about the music box her husband had given her on their wedding day, how she still wound it every anniversary, even though he had been gone for 15 years. Young Emma Chen, Oliver's granddaughter who was visiting for the equinox, asked if she could learn to repair music boxes someday, saying she wanted to do work that helped people keep their memories safe. As evening approached and the celebration continued, River pulled Sage aside to a quiet corner. "I have something for you," they said, pulling out a leather-bound book. "I made this while I was working on the community book. It's a record of every music box you've repaired in the past year. Photographs, descriptions, the stories people told you about why each box mattered. I thought you might want to keep it, to remember the work and the people and the connections you've helped preserve." Sage took the book with hands that trembled slightly, opened it to find page after page of beautifully documented repairs. There was Clara's music box that played Fur-Elise. There was the carousel horse that belonged to Violet Brooke. There was the grand piano that Oliver had found at an estate sale. Each one was photographed and described, and beside each photograph, River had transcribed the stories, the memories and meanings that made each box precious to its owner. "River, I don't have words," Sage said, voice thick with emotion. "This is the most thoughtful gift anyone has ever given me." "You gave me back my grandmother," River said simply. "You gave me a home. You showed me what it means to be part of a community. This seemed like the least I could do." They hugged, a long embrace of gratitude and affection and the particular bond that forms between people who have helped each other through difficult transitions, who have witnessed each other's transformation and growth. As the celebration wound down and people began to leave, drifting toward their homes through the spring twilight, Sage stood in the doorway of the community center with Oliver and River, watching the village settle into evening. The air was mild, carrying the scent of earth and growing things, promising that winter was truly over and spring was here to stay. "Another season navigated," Oliver said contentedly. "Another winter survived together." "And another person woven into the fabric," Sage added, putting an arm around River's shoulders. "The community grows and changes, but the foundation stays strong." River looked out at the village with eyes full of love and belonging. "I can't imagine being anywhere else now. This is home." They stood together for a while longer, three friends in comfortable silence, watching the light fade and the first stars appear in the darkening sky. Then, with final good nights and promises to see each other soon, they parted ways. Oliver to his clock shop above which he lived, River to the cottage behind the old mill, Sage to the apartment above the music box workshop. Inside the familiar space, Sage made tea and sat in the comfortable armchair by the window, looking out at the village square bathed in soft lamplight. The leather-bound book that River had made sat on the side table, and Sage opened it again, reading through the descriptions of repairs, remembering each box and each person and each story. This was the work, Sage thought, not just the mechanical repair, though that was important, but this, the preservation of connection, the honoring of memory, the patient care that helped people hold on to what mattered most. Every box that passed through the workshop carried someone's heart, and being trusted with that, being given the opportunity to bring music back into people's lives, was a privilege and a responsibility that Sage had never taken lightly. The grandmother's music box sat on its shelf, and Sage wound it up one last time, letting Silent Night play softly in the quiet apartment. The tiny village inside the snow globe rotated slowly, and Sage thought about how we all carry small worlds inside us, how memories create landscapes we return to again and again, how the work of preserving those landscapes through music boxes or photographs or stories or simply through showing up for each other day after day was perhaps the most important work there was. Tomorrow would come, and with it the familiar routine, the tea in the morning, the work at the table, the customers who would bring their precious objects for repair. Spring would deepen into summer, summer would fade into fall, fall would give way to winter again. The seasons would turn, the years would pass, and through it all, Sage would be here, patient hands ready to mend what was broken, to restore what had been damaged, to bring music back into the world. River had found a home in Crystalline Hollow, just as Sage had 30 years ago, just as so many others had over the generations. The village had a way of gathering those who needed it, of providing refuge and connection and the particular peace that comes from belonging somewhere completely. The music wound down, the last notes fading into silence, and Sage felt a deep contentment settle over everything. This was enough. This was more than enough. This was everything. Outside, the spring night was mild and gentle, the last snow finally melted, the earth beginning its annual resurrection. Inside, warmth and peace and the quiet satisfaction of a life well lived, of work that mattered, of connections that endured. Sage prepared for bed with the familiar routine, moving through the small apartment that had been home for 30 decades, touching familiar objects, the tea kettle that had made thousands of cups, the books that had been read and reread, the music boxes that sang their various melodies. Each object carried memory and meaning, and together they created a space that felt exactly right, that held Sage safely and surely. Sleep came easily, gently, carrying Sage into dreams of spinning ballerinas and melodies that wound through time like golden thread, connecting past to present, memory to moment, loss to hope, winter to spring, always returning, always renewing, always bringing music back into the world.
And so we come to the end of Sage's winter, though of course in Crystalline Hollow the mornings continue, the workshop warms. As you lie here now, warm and safe in your bed, let yourself hold on to this feeling, the knowledge that broken things can be mended, that patient hands and gentle care can bring beauty back into the world, that the smallest acts of showing up create the largest harmonies. Take one more slow breath in and release it completely. letting everything go. Feel how heavy your body has become now. Your arms rest peacefully. Your legs are warm and still. Your breathing is slow and natural, like a gentle song. Your mind is quiet, settled like fresh snow on a winter morning. If you're still awake, that's perfectly fine. Just let yourself float here in this peaceful space. And if you wake during the night, remember the sound of music boxes singing in harmony. Remember the warmth of the workshop. Remember that tomorrow the sun will rise again over Crystalline Hollow, and there will be more melodies to mend. Rest now, dear one. Let sleep find you as gently as snowfall. The music boxes will sing again in the morning. Good night.